I think The Lord of the Rings, I think Tolkien was trying to tell us something. And if you think about what the rings represent, now I know he said in interviews, I just wanted to create a compelling, story, but there is something deeper there because when I look, I'm going to focus on the left wing here, but when I look at something like wokeism, woke progressivism, critical race theory, it's kind of like one of those rings because people put on the ring, so to speak, adopt the philosophy of woke progressivism, wokeism, and this philosophy promises power, prestige, protection, and when you adopt this philosophy, this wicked philosophy, it ends up controlling you. It ends up bringing you into the darkness. Tolkien wrote, "One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them." And when I see what wokeism has done at the university, when I see what wokeism has done in corporations, when I see what wokeism has done in Hollywood, when I see normal people who are raised in the ethos of colorblindness, raised in the ethos of appreciating the individual, judging people based on the content of their character, that's how most Americans were raised. When I watch this philosophy, which is wokeism, spread through the country, spread through the younger generation, and I see this, you might say, this ring that they're putting on, when I see this happen, I think they're being bound in darkness. Because when we talk about darkness, what is darkness? What does it mean to be possessed by evil? Well, if you think about the devil, if you think about Satan, psychologically, symbolically, literally, whatever, it doesn't matter. Essentially, what the devil does is he worships that which doesn't work, that which causes chaos, that which is violent, that which creates schisms and fractures relationships. And the devil hates, demons hate that which works, that which is beautiful, that which is good, that which brings people close together, that which brings love about. That's what the ring does too. You see it with Boromir, this noble guy who suddenly becomes inverted because of the ring and attacks his friends. At the end, he kind of sees the error in his ways, and you've seen woke people snap out of it and go, "Oh my God, I was racist, I was a bigot, I was hateful, I was spiteful, I wasn't actually compassionate, I was one of the most intolerant people on planet Earth." Now, there's not just one ring. You might say the one ring is inversion, that's sort of flipping, and there's other rings that bring you to that darkness. So one of these other is like wokeism, that brings you to a sort of politically demonic state. I sometimes call it political Satanism. But there's others. If you look at the far right, the neo N-word, right? N-word being those guys from Germany in the 1930s and 40s. You can't say it because they'll ban the video. Right? That's another ring of power, if we will. What a terrible show. But the idea that these rings, you take them because they promise power. They feel like strength, but they're actually distorting you. They're actually tainting you. They're actually pulling you in and vitiating your soul. They're ruining your character, and they're poisoning the nation. They are, when we talk about things that are toxic, these bad philosophies are toxic. So there's this overarching evil, this overarching darkness that is inversion. You flip reality upside down and you start to worship that which is baleful. You start to genuflect before the political Satanism of violence and terrorism and riots, right? And then you start to hate successful people. You start to hate progress. It's really one of the most ironic things is the woke ring is a progressive movement, but they can't see progress. They deny all progress. They think we still live in some weird way in 1860, that the bigotry of the 1860s just went underground, right? So these rings start to distort reality, start to lose touch with what's actually happening. And again, there are right-wing versions of this, of course. There are theocratic versions of this, religious versions of this, New Age cult versions of this. But in every instance, truth, goodness, beauty, freedom, those get denigrated, those get diminished, those get dirtied. And the opposite of those things in either a left-wing, right-wing, religious, New Age form become promoted. You worship greed and pride. The emotion, negative emotions become worship. The rage you can feel. You have days of rage on college campuses, right? Some of the most dangerous places you can ever go are peace rallies. Think about that. Think how dangerous a peace protest is. Because you get very, very often people who go to peace protests want war because they have a philosophy that uses words like peace. But even if they use words like peace and justice or patriotism on the right, if you just peek beneath those words, that's the sheep's clothing. You see it's not just wolves, it's like demonic devils. It's demonic beasts underneath those words. And instead of justice, they want revenge. Instead of peace, they want blood. Instead of patriotism, they want genocide, right? So you look underneath the words these inverted people use, these people who are bound in darkness. They're attracted to these shiny rings, these philosophies that their professors tell them are so profound and so sophisticated, and they're just being sucked in. Part of it has to do with the fact that they find that which works, that which is beautiful, traditional things that it doesn't mean there can't be progress and tweaks to what exists, but they've been sort of taught that the old, or what was discovered during the Enlightenment, or certain spiritual principles, is just sort of passé, and they need to be original. They need to find something new. So sometimes it's the drive for something new, and really when they seek something new, even then, they can't find anything new. They just end up repeating some old evils and wickedness of the past, but it feels new to them. They end up with these philosophies, when they're bound in darkness, they hate stability, they hate that which works, and they get these faint ideas of some future utopia that they're going to bring about by their, political action. So the danger we all face, we all have to make sure we aren't drawn to those rings. We put those rings on, we adopt certain philosophies. We let our principles slide in the name of political expediency so our guy can win or our girl can win. And we overlook certain evil things they say and do, certain behaviors that we would reject if the other side did them. Right? And this is how the darkness spreads in a society. This is how nations fall. This is how towns fall. This is how states fall. This is actually how families fall. Because it's okay, we're talking about it politically, but it's also how interpersonal relationships fracture and dissolve, disintegrate, turn into little mini wars, mini battles. So be very careful what philosophies you adopt. And God willing, we're trying to take collectively, people who are sane, we're trying to take the ideology that is wokeism, one of these rings, and we're trying to take it and destroy it. And it's hard. It's hard to do. We're like, collectively, we're like Frodo and Samwise, trying to take one of these rings. Maybe you might say it's the ring right now in America that is making so many people think evil ideas. But, as we do this, we look over and there's another ring here that Nick Fuentes wears. All right, that's another ring that needs to be destroyed. Part of being a conservative, part of being a traditional liberal, is to constantly be on that journey, I feel. To constantly be on that journey of destroying rings, of destroying bad philosophies, of waking people up, snapping them out of it, pulling those rings off of their fingers.